All right, I'm back on the main menu where now I'll review the game. I'm going to start with visuals. I quite like the game visually personally. I think it's really cool. I like the grungy appearance it has. Somewhat of a pixelation kind of going on here, but the game has pretty decent fidelity to it. It very much reminds me of Manhunt and Condemned and things like that, so I don't have a problem with it personally. I think even with how dark the game can be, the flashlight works pretty well. And I like the way, people's bodies react and the overall environments and the level design that we experienced. Even if it's just a couple levels. I think visual presentation overall in this game is pretty solid, so yeah, I have no problems with it personally, and I quite like it. Very nostalgic. In terms of audio, I like the audio in the game as well. I like the voice acting that's strange and, mysterious voice talking to some unintelligible voice, I guess, who is the boss of all of this. Pretty cool stuff there. I enjoy that the guns have their own unique sounds that, at least the ones that we've experienced. I think they sound pretty good for the most part. Obviously, I'm sure when we get suppressors and even get things like the LMG and things we haven't experienced that, they'll sound pretty satisfying to use as well. I like that the farmhouse level had very strong, well done rain and storm aesthetics in terms of the audio department. I like the vibe that had. Pretty cool stuff there. I like that a lot. I love rain in video games, and I thought that was well done. I like hearing enemies scream at you and cuss and communicate with each other in some manner of speaking. Of course, you can also hear enemy footsteps as you're in places like houses or inside, so you can kind of get an idea where they are or how many there are, so that's pretty cool. And aside from that, I don't think anything in the audio department necessarily stands out to me all that much, but I think overall the sound design in the game is pretty well done. I think immersive, and I think appropriate for what we're experiencing and what we're doing in the game, so I don't have any issues with it personally. I would say sound design is okay across the board. In terms of mechanics, the game is pretty straightforward. You go to a location, you have your loadout, you save up your money, buy better stuff, and you kill gangsters and drug dealers or whoever else that we may come across in this game. You have some objectives, which I think is cool. It's not just killing, so there are some things you need to look out for in the environment. And also having bonuses, like killing all the enemies and things like that is pretty cool. So I like the overall gameplay loop that it has going for it. I think it's pretty cool. I think the combat is fun as well. Like I said, it reminds me of games like Manhunt and stuff like that. So very nostalgic, very satisfying to, kill all these terrible bad people and, make your way through the level. And I'm sure obviously with different weapons and attachments, you can approach these levels in different ways if you would like to. So there's some replayability there as well. I'm not sure if the idea of standing still for 8 seconds to get half your health back is all that well implemented or showcased. I think it also may break sort of the pacing of the game depending on how you're approaching it, but I don't think it's a big deal. It is just an option of where if you just can't find any healing items, at least you have some way to get some of your health back, so that's nice. I would say the game is kind of easy. I don't know if as we progress, levels become increasingly more difficult. Obviously, the point of buying more weapons and having better loadouts, especially in the demo, would make us probably feel really, really powerful. Of course, maybe the challenge isn't necessarily the point of the game, so it's not a big deal. I'm just saying from what I experienced, it's pretty easy. Aside from that, I would say mechanics overall, unless I miss something, is pretty strong. I very much enjoy the overall feel of the game and how it plays, so pretty good stuff there. In terms of story and concept, the story is pretty straightforward, which I appreciate for a game like this especially. I like the idea of having some sort of explosive in us that basically forces the character to behave in a certain way because of these shadowy forces and whoever they are controlling our actions. So pretty cool stuff there. I like the story. I like to see where it can go. I think it has a lot of potential. Even if it is simple, I think it's effective. And conceptually, the game is a lot of fun. Like I said, I really like the concept. I think this can go a long ways in terms of replayability and just overall enjoyment if you're into these kind of games like I am. So really cool stuff conceptually. I think this is really interesting and I think a lot of fun. In terms of performance, the game performed just fine. I will bring up the options. Main menu here, they're pretty straightforward, but in-game you have more options than this. I find that strange that the main menu doesn't have the same options. You can change like your resolution and stuff in-game. I'm not really sure why that's not here, but no big deal. Anyways, the game performed fine. I had no problems with it. I think the game runs pretty smooth. I'm not sure if it's the VHS filter itself. Sometimes the game looks like it has screen tearing, but like I said, it might just be the VHS filter, which I think is fine. You can turn it off, which makes the game really dark for some reason. That's kind of strange. But you can, turn up the gamma if you'd like, way up. Okay, so that's a nice option. Pretty cool stuff there. So like I said, performance is totally fine. So my final judgment for the PIGFACE demo is I would say it's good. I think it's a good game. For me, the game is really enjoyable. I very much like the visual aesthetics. I like the sound design. I think it could maybe be adjusted a little bit. Maybe give some more punchy gun sounds. I don't know. Maybe just fine-tune some of the sound design just a little bit. Maybe some volume mixing could be maybe a little better in the game, but aside from that, audio is fine. Mechanics, I think, are pretty strong across the board. It has a lot of potential to give replayability, things to work towards, you know, getting your money, buying better weapons, getting more loadouts and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of cool potential there. And also the story and the concept, I think, is pretty strong as well. So I'm just going to say it's good, middle of the road on my scale, but I still really see how this game has a lot going for it, and I think it'll do really well going forward. So I wish you the best of luck on your future endeavors and your work. Tell me what you think in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this game? Do you agree or disagree with me? Do you have anything to add? You just want to say hi? Let me know what's up. And if you enjoy my content, hit subscribe, leave a like, comment, share the video. I'd greatly appreciate support. And don't forget to check the pinned comment below for the links to everything. Go play this game for yourself, form your own opinion, and tell the developer what you think about it. I'm sure they'd really appreciate your feedback as well as mine. And also, don't forget to check the description for links to my socials if that interests you. Well, thanks for watching my video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And I think that's all I have to say about it. So thanks for hanging out with me. And don't forget, the pale moth is always watching.